All right, guys, so we about got her done here. Man, what a nightmare this thing has been. There's a few variables of it. Some of it was because somebody's taken off like on the rear, taken off old bad control arms and put them back on. So we put new ones on the rear and replaced all that. But it made them hard to get off because somebody's done bad things and needs vice grips to hold the ball joint and tighten it down. You can see now we're all new stuff. This strut on this side, that's one of the new ones I got, and this one up here are a little bit iffy. Like they weren't bad per se, but they weren't very good. So time will tell with how that's gonna pan out. The fronts were the worst. Now, when I did the other E60, it was all-wheel drive. This one's two-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. And I could just take the thrust arm off, loosen up the lower control arm, take the tower off and swivel the whole spindle down. But unfortunately on this one, that wasn't the case at all. We had to drop the whole entire thing to get the strut to clear the fender to get it out. And man, what a freaking nightmare that was, even with the lift. So we got new thrust arms on the front. The tie rods and all that looked good, felt good. We left the inner arm, did not replace that. Those all seemed like they were fine. And at the mileage, you know, things like that, tie rods aren't gonna be bad just yet. These are around 150, that's the case. Put all the Brembo brakes on, put all the new sensors on. I actually got stiffed one of the sensors. I think I actually might have burned it with the trash. So this side we bypassed this sensor. We got it taped off, tucked in behind there a little bit. That's fine. This is all done. The strut on this side was actually really good. They're not bad, they're just different variances of good, I guess. So this one's all finished up. Now we left the thrust arm bolt nut and the inner lower bolt nut a little bit loose. We'll get the tires back on this thing and lower it down. And once the weight of the car is on it, I'll reach under there and double wrench it and tighten it up. Not that, I don't know. It's debatable whether that actually matters, especially in the lower control arm, but who knows. So like I said, this side's all done. That side did not ever have a ABS sensor on it. And this side we're doing right now, we just got the upper control arm out. You can see the bolts out. Trying to get the nut off of that, trying to hold it with vice grips, trying to put a pry bar in there and put tension on it so I get the nut off. But it's a freaking nightmare. And then the last lowering spring strut you can see here, and then all those will be off. And every one of those lowering springs, let me show you. Hold on. Every one of these lower springs, we're actually rubbing, the coils are rubbing each other, right? You can see here, there you go. It was setting so low, it was rubbing all the other coils, and they were a good quality spring, H&R springs. I don't know why they were doing that. I don't know if somebody's put heat to them, but I don't think so because you'd be able to see on there where they heated them up. But all that garbage is off. That made this car literally undrivable. And I see guys all the time on Facebook and all these places, the car show clubs I like to call them. Nobody's actually fixing anything. Everybody's taking pictures of their wheels, taking pictures of their car, they just washed it, stuff like that. They're not doing the same thing we're doing here, that's for damn sure. But they all had those damn lowering springs on their cars because it looks good. This car was just unusable with those springs on it. I'll hit the mic there. 100% garbage. You have stuff, oh, that reminds me too. You have stuff dragging, you don't want dragging, if you know what I mean. And I'm gonna show you that right now. The light here, you can't see very good. You can see there's actually a hole rubbed in the inner fender well. You're thinking, oh, okay, well, what's the big deal with that? It's just cut up there. You see in here, it's starting to rub the wiring harness and is almost, I gotta get this light in the right spot, has almost rubbed through the wiring harness. Can you imagine if that would have rubbed through that, which looks like it would have very soon. It's actually melted the inner fender well. And that would have rubbed that in two, and all of a sudden stuff wasn't working right. There was problems. Can you imagine trying to hunt that down? You know, guys, in my opinion, like a Honda or something, you could lower a Honda, you can get away with that. Like there's not stuff dragging on the ground that really matters, right? But especially like this car where everything's $1,000 or more, and you have stuff hanging down low. Now granted, we have the skid plates off of this thing right now, so you can see, but that little thin skid plate's not gonna protect too much. You can see start off with, we got power steering lines hanging down. We've got the nipple on the oil pan right here hanging down, almost, well, if you don't include the rubber bumper piece, almost level with the subframe. Right behind it, you got all the oil pan on your $10,000 engine hanging down. Under that, you have all your SMG parts hanging down, SMG cooler, pump, you have lines hanging down, all that stuff. Holy crap. If you drag this car on something and it pushes through that little thin flimsy skid plate, which it will. Now granted, you got the aluminum one on under the first part of the engine, but all your SMG stuff and your power steering lines and all the oil lines doesn't have nothing protecting that besides that little 1/16 of an inch thick plastic. So I tell you what, you can lower these cars, you're gonna pay the piper sooner or later. And this guy, judging by that wiring harness in the back, looked like it was gonna be sooner than later. Okay, so we cleaned the wheels and tires up. Man, what a freaking mess that was. This one came pretty clean. There's a couple other ones here that did not come all the way clean. You can't really see it too much. There you go. They're like pretty good. That was using more than a bottle of bleach white. And we had that stuff that turns purple when you spray it on her. And finished up with that. What it really needed was a piece of Brillo pad to do that. I hate doing that to the back of wheels because dirt sticks really bad to them after you do that. It's just a perfect example of why you don't put dusty brake pads on your car. Now, we did find out these are factory brake pads. They are BMW pads, and the rears are stamped 2012 for date. The fronts, I'm guessing, are done at the same time. You can see the state of things. There was like no pad left at all. It was just totally gone in the front. Totally neglected. Like I said, these things probably could have used new rotors. They're insanely expensive though, and hard to get right now since the virus. So we put new pads on it. If we got any problems, we'll go ahead and replace what we got to replace. But one thing I want to show you here too, it's not only the wheels. You could see up in there, there was brake dust literally coating all the whole under bottom of this car. This one was really bad. You can see up there, the silt on that red is just massively coated everything. And I see YouTubers even today putting organic race pads on their car, and they just have no idea what that's doing. And they're like, oh no, I clean the wheels all the time. It's no problem. You don't clean them one time for a little bit, and you're gonna have this problem. You could probably literally take a putty knife and scrape it off these wheels. It was so deep. And are you ever gonna need organic pads? You're taking the car to the track. Are you taking your M5 with a $10,000 engine to the track all the time? No, you're not. No, you're not. And if you do, you're probably not too bright. This car is old enough now to where that is not gonna end well whatsoever in any way, shape, or form for the SMG or for the engine. You know, at this point, like I say all the time, it's a novelty car. It's something you drive every once in a while, you can sit back and look at, and that's about it. So these are all done. We're gonna go and mount these wheels and tires on. Before I put the underpinning on and all the trays on, we gotta let this thing down, pick up all this crap off the floor, let this thing down on the tires and tighten up the inner 2 bolts on each side. Then we can lift it back up. I could put all the underpinning on. We know it doesn't leak. It's been running on the lift already. And at that point in time, we'll slip the fan back in. We're about ready. We're about ready. Okay, so I'm just letting it down, but I thought I'd better show you. We're gonna put on the metal skid plate. We're gonna leave these 2 off just for a temporary time being, because I want to go drive it here in just a few minutes. And I want to make sure we don't have to take those back off because there's a lot of freaking bolts. And then if that's all good, then we'll put it back on when we pull it back in. But all the wheels and tires are on, everything's done. We just have to plug in the struts, the electronic struts, and put our fan back in. And I think we're pretty much there. I don't remember if I showed you this or not. We pulled out the drain to the ECU box. It wasn't stopped up, somebody's cleaned it out. If you don't know the situation, you got to rip these out. That's why they just have all the issue. You get to it right up, right in there, take the inner fender well, just a few bolts out of that, and you get right to it. Not a big deal at all. That should be okay for no more we're gonna do today with it. So let's get her finished up and I'll throw this junk out of the way and see what we got. Okay, so I thought, well, I better close this video out and see what the deal is here. Here's what's going on. The shop's a wreck, but we're getting ready to clean it. We're just trying to get the car out of the shop. Well, this is all the further we got it. This is all the further our test drive went. So when we scanned it with this to reset and everything, like I had a bunch of stuff in parts, so reset all that stuff. And we kept getting, I have to go grab it. We kept getting the error code for the steering angle sensor, and then finally an acceleration sensor for the front left. We never got that code before. I'm going to show you what it is. So this car, on each corner of the car, has these little sensors here. And this is essentially called a Yaw Rate Sensor, YAW. And this, I don't know if this ties into a whole bunch of stuff. So this has the DSC tied in, so if you're going sideways, the car knows it. This is also on the SMG box, tied into the SMG box, okay? So we had a error code for the front left, and so went digging in the inner fender well here, and found it in there, and I looked up in there, and the wire is broken off. So after a little closer inspection, I'm like, oh, the sensor's broke, and then the plug, the pigtail isn't even there. It's just like gone. That's weird. Well, apparently at some point in time, this thing had a little bit of an accident, and it looks like it just smudged up right where this goes in, about right here, right below the light. Actually goes just like that. It bolts in with two T30s. And just right around there, it got crunched. I don't know if it actually got in a wreck, as the paint on this fender does not look like it's been repainted. Or somebody had the fender off and it got bumped or broke, I don't know. But we need a new one of these. I mean, we probably could use this one, but it's a little bit raggedy, right? So, fortunately, we can't drive this car. I mean, it'll like pull back on the lift. We can't drive it really anywhere until we get that sensor, because the SMG box doesn't work right without that. Well, how we drove before did not throw the code, I honestly don't know. But this car is like the gift that keeps on giving, right? The gift that keeps on giving. It's just one of those cars, and we all had them. My black E60 is the same way. Every single thing you try to do, it fought you on. Just every nut, every bolt, everything. And sometimes you get them like that, but in my black E60 case, it turned out to be a really good car overall, and it's still running good. So, I spent a lot of time today working on this car. I probably spent 4.5 hours today. So we have all the suspension done, as you can see, also, is sitting at the correct ride height. It still looks a smidge low in the back. Well, I guess not, maybe. And we'll go over to the other side here and show you. But also, that was throwing the HDC for the suspension, having that out. And you can see here, put the viewfinder back up, that side over there is sitting a little bit low. Maybe just because the wheels are turned, I don't know. In the back, we'll have to investigate. But you can see the wheels are nice and clean. We cleaned all those. I think I already told you about that. All the brakes are on, all the suspension's done, everything's done. everything should be tip top. That's about the only issue we had, other than I unplugged the secondary air pump. We need to code all that out and reflash it and do all that. Does it drive good? Well, I mean, it looks like it might, but I don't know. That's where we're gonna have to leave it for right now. The next question is, that piece I bought from eBay, I bought a used one, because that's not something that usually goes out. It was like 15 bucks with the pigtail, right? If I'd have bought a new one, it'd been like 150, probably 200 bucks altogether, I don't know. The used one's plenty fine for this. There's no shame in doing that. Good OEM one. But the next thing is, I need to put the plastics back on the bottom of this, the metal skid plates on it. This is the two plastics or not. I don't want to put this back in the lift necessarily. I'd rather put it over somewhere over here until Tuesday. The next thing is, do we start on the 1600 next, or do we just go ahead and do the Blue E90 engine and do that? I don't know. This thing is going to be on the lift for a long time. This needs a whole plethora of hard to get parts. So I think about doing the E90. That's going to be a pretty quick swap. We should be able to have the engine here and by next week, no problem at all. So let me know what you think on that. That's going to be it for today's video. I was really hoping to be driving this thing with the head cam on. This is going to be a little bit. What else can I tell you? It's going to be it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. We'll see you later.